Hey, She Slayers, this is a special sample cut from this week's episode. If you find this interesting, be sure to make time to go listen to the entire episode released this past Sunday. And please be sure to help a girl out and follow or subscribe to this podcast. So, are you saying that the mental health is potentially less, like you're less worried of, or you're dealing with less anxiety and depression because you have this drive to survive more?
Oh, well, we can let's like maybe we pause a second and think about maybe one of the great linguistic challenges of our time is that the word mental health is a term from 1908 and it's 2024 and it's become nebulous and abstract, undefinable, and somewhat dangerous. Yesterday was World Mental Health Day, and I had our students here. We were all talking about this, and we're on Instagram, and every post was like somebody had their head down, eyes closed. It was like mental health. It's like health means health. Health is good. Health doesn't mean illness, even though we talk about it in this weird Orwellian backwards way. So we're using the term mental health to talk about what clearly to the public at large means depression, anxiety, addiction,
Mhm.
suicidality, isolation. But health means health. Illness means illness, and health is a proactive engagement with your own brain and body. I just had this conversation in the sauna with some of our students. And they were like, why are we talking about mental health like it's a bad thing? Health is never a bad thing. Health is a good thing.
Mhm.
That's how far we are from having a proactive conversation on building the brain, building the body, and making sure that when we talk about mental health, I'll give an actual example of this with students. But when we talk about mental health, we should be talking about health. When we talk about mental illness, we should be talking about illness. But you can't conflate these words. It's very, very confusing. It confuses the cultural conversation. Why would World Mental Health Day be a sad day?
Mhm.
Because we're not using the words accurately. We're not thinking them through. I gave this thought exercise to a group of students recently, high school students. And I said, what do you think about when you hear the term mental health? They said depression. I think about addiction. I think about anxiety. I think about isolation. I said, what do you think about when you hear the term brain health? They said, I think about focus. I think about memory. I think about skill acquisition, skill building. I think about motivation. So we have to be really clear, I think, to realize that mental health is a term from the early 1900s and it has no cultural meaning that we can agree upon. But brain health is amazing because we have a brain in our heads, and that's pretty cool. And you can build it, you can program it, you can make it healthier, you can grow it like a plant. And if you understand that, if we tell kids to understand that, then we can get to the heart of whether something, again, is rooted in biology or psychology. Of course, there are crossovers, but when we mash the two things, to give a direct example, if any of us, if you or I or your audience were to scroll on Instagram for hours, we would take our baseline level of dopamine, the brain chemical responsible for motivation and for focus, and we would lower it systemically. So we would get excited by an influencer or an advertisement or some TikTok video. Dopamine levels would go up above baseline, and then they would return slightly below the baseline.
Mm.
Extrapolate that out for an hour, 2 hours, or 3 hours, and we are neurophysiologically depressed. We are in a dopamine deficit. That is a brain health issue.
Mhm.
That is not a psychiatric issue. That's certainly not not a psychiatric issue. That now, where the two worlds get very often mixed, and I think this really speaks to the complexity of our time. There's an exercise I'm going to put up on Instagram this next week, and I'll put it up on my page. And I'm calling it the hedgehog experiment. So when anybody listening to this, if you're on Instagram, you can go to the little search button. Like on the bottom, there's a little magnifying glass. So I guess it's a little circle at a top, and click it, and you will learn in instantaneously what Instagram thinks that you are, who Instagram thinks that you are, because it will show you all of the suggested posts based on posts that
It's
you've
called your
engaged in,
explore
right?
page, people. Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So when you go, and I'll send you this for fun, but when I'll send you mine, I'll post about it. So when I do this, and I do this with students all the time, when I click my little button, my entire feed is filled with hedgehogs.
What?
Every single block is a hedgehog. There is nothing in my phone but hedgehogs. I call it the
David,
hedgehog
what
experiment. So I
is
started
going
with
on?
somebody close to me in my life about 6 months ago. We started sending each other hedgehogs. And I started to notice how they populated and dominated my social media sphere. So we kept it going. We sent hedgehogs to each other often. If right now, if I could do this live with your audience, I would go to my phone, I would click the button, and you would see hedgehogs in cute little glasses. You'd see they're like really, done up. Like they're not just hedgehogs. They're hedgehogs like in tuxedos or like on, playing with
Oh my god,
it's like a
I'm gonna
hedgehog on a
need you
unicycle.
after we're done recording to send me a photo through
I'm gonna send you the
Instagram of
hedgehogs. Yeah, it's
yeah,
amazing.
yeah, yeah.
And so what we yeah, it's massively they're everywhere. And so I always show them to the students, like, you have to be kidding me. There's nothing but hedgehogs on your Instagram. And I use it as an example. I'll ask them then, I'll say, if you're comfortable, because I never push them,
Yeah.
if you're comfortable, what does your grid look like?
Mhm. Yeah, you gotta be careful asking a
Now you
male
have,
to
well, right? I
share
mean,
that.
you know what? You want to talk about, that's what I honestly mean. I say when you're comfortable, because the phone has become a multi-purpose tool for all of these elements of entertainment and exploration. I would never in my life as a teacher or coach pull up a young person and say, show the class
Right.
what's on your phone. But what happens is students will hit the button and go, for one person, it's only a political ideology of a particular persuasion on every single grid. For somebody else, it's nothing but a sport that they like. It's all football, it's all punk rock, it's all whatever you've clicked on. So to circle back between brain health and psychological health, if I click on my phone all day, and I literally, when I go on Instagram, I see a couple of great pioneers like yourself, and I see a lot of hedgehogs. But if I click on my phone all day, I will decrease my dopamine levels, and I will be neurophysiologically less motivated. But if what I see in my content stream is dystopian or divisive or negative or apocalyptic, I will then be psychologically terrified or angry or simply alienated to the point that I'm running into a psychological issue. So we're at a moment in time where young people are dealing with both the brain health implications of technology and the psychological implication of seeing whatever you click on magnified a hundredfold. So the question is how, when I think of education, in our view, we need to prepare them for that complexity, to understand the technologies that we use, to understand the implications of them, to understand how to build a level of autonomy in our lives where we're not like watching our belief systems directed subtly by an algorithm. But that doesn't even come up because they're busy memorizing
Mhm.
facts from another generation or from another century.
Right.